Hello everyone, we're back with another video. I am in California in front of a piece that I painted a while ago on purpose because this painting doesn't get enough spotlight for how many days and hours I took to paint it. I was supposed to record this a week ago and I said it actually in the last episode. I'm actually filming 2 episodes today and I'm not even going to try to pretend that it's a different day, but I did not record this episode. So I'm doing it here in California on my photo booth app on my Mac, which is why the quality is terrible, but it's kind of cute. I like the camcorder look, so I'm actually not mad at it. We are talking about all the things that I've learned so far in the past 6 months of 2024. It's a mid-year check-in, a mid-year reflection, whatever. And I haven't done a lot of these since I've graduated college, sadly, and not that surprisingly, because my years aren't marked with quarters and the start and finishing of a new year with school. And so every year looks the same, every month looks the same, and so I forget to reflect. But I did this time, and so I came up with 13 things that I learned. But before we get into that high, low, buffalo, you know the drill. High is something good that happened, low is something bad. Buffalo is something weird that happened. Starting off with the high, I am so happy with the new apartment. Moving was very hectic. I just would never ever do it again. I'm happy to have gotten that over with in June, but with that being said, it was all worth it. This new space has so much good natural lighting and it really changed the game because now I can see the outside. I can see what time of day it is. I can get some natural light in my apartment instead of feeling like I'm in a cave. And if you guys have watched my videos before I moved into the new apartment, which is pretty much all the videos I've posted so far, you can see the lighting is very yellow. The walls are very yellow. So it just made me feel like just stuck in a really weird spot. And moving on to the low. Oh my fucking god, it's a fucking spider. Woo, it's fast. Nose is gonna get killed right now. Sorry, I'm not a spider saver. I know there's a lot of people out there that won't kill a spider, but I will. Next is my low. So why am I at home right now all of a sudden? This was super last minute, super unexpected, not just for you, but for me as well. I actually booked this flight like a week and a half ago because I'm here to see the dentist, which is also why half my face feels a little numb right now. I just had the dentist appointment where my crown fell out a few weeks ago because I was eating boba. And just imagine chewing something soft and then all of a sudden crunching on a hard bone. That's exactly what happened. I chewed down on my crown that fell out of my mouth and it broke. And there was nothing protecting the nerve at that tooth. And so I had to come home because it was cheaper to get my crown fixed here in California, including the flight, than it was to do it in New York. And it's fun fact, if this ever happens to you, this is not covered by insurance because it is a crown that's been done already and then you have to fix it again. And so the cost of it was $1,600. If you're looking for some numbers on how much dental treatments can be in New York, it was $1,600. Next is buffalo. So for my buffalo, I, weirdly enough, went to my first rave in New York City. It's not even a rave, really. It was more so, it is still EDM. It was house music, but it wasn't EDM, like giving Skrillex, Illenium, like that kind of music, which is not my type of music. But house is probably the best that it's going to get for me in terms of EDM music because I just don't like it too much. But house I can tolerate. So I actually really liked it, and I was so shocked because I have never been into that kind of raving scene. I did it completely sober, which is crazy, and I survived until 1:30 in the morning, started at 9 p.m., It's not bad. 4.5 hours of just like, straight dancing. It was really fun, actually. Moving on to what I've learned so far in the past 6 months of 2024. Okay, first thing that I learned in 2024 so far is that a job doesn't actually have to be a job at the end of the day. There's a quote, a saying that a lot of people like to say. At the end of the day, it's just a job. You know, work is work. That's what a lot of people love to say. And I've always been somebody that tried to believe it. I tried to say it, try to use it as a way to get through really rough work weeks, work months. But it just didn't hit all the time. And then I had this realization that this is not the case when my family friend actually said this to me. The first reaction that I had to what she said, being work is just work at the end of the day, was no, it isn't. I had such a quick reaction to what she had said, which is crazy. I knew it in my heart on that day that that's not true, because I was able to prove it with the tattooing stuff. So I've been a tattoo artist for a little bit now, and I posted a vlog. My most recent vlog is about that whole journey, and I'm still on that journey. I'm not there where I can make, tattoo be my full-time job, but it's still work. And I don't feel 1 ounce of that. There's a lot of inconveniences and a lot of things that go wrong with tattooing, like people canceling on me last minute, which is not fun. The cost of starting the business is just not fun. The amount of money that I'm losing right now. But even though those are huge negatives, and to a lot of people it would be terrible and not feel that great, I'm really surprised at how well I'm taking it. I have a pretty good outlook on these negative things, because at the end of the day, I'm always still feeling like I'd rather deal with all of this crap for something that I love and care about than the other way around. And I just love it. It feels really good. And I don't know if that makes anybody angry or surprised or anything, but you can love something that you do that makes you money at the same time. So I don't know why everyone keeps freaking saying, maybe they're trying to do what I used to do, which is cope with a really tough situation where they're at a job that they don't like. But is that really helping if you're just trying to brainwash yourself into thinking that this is a place that you want to be, when in reality you don't actually want to be there? I don't know. Because I'm happy that I am so quick to say that's not true. I'm so happy that I learned that that is false and it's wrong. And I don't know who needs to hear it, but let me be the person that proves that. The second thing that I learned, this is a more personal thing. So I'm mixing things that are applicable to other people, but also things that I just genuinely learned about myself this year, because you want to keep learning about yourself as you get older. And I learned that when I am people pleasing, not really feeling comfortable or being myself fully or being genuine, I actually have a higher pitched voice. I'm not even lying. I'm straight up just talking to people, being like, hey, like, how are you doing? And my voice is like an octave higher. And I realized that's the case because, I watched my videos when I'm surrounded by certain people. So if you guys want to know whether or not I'm feeling really comfortable around you, you will know, because my voice is way higher if I'm not comfortable around you and feeling like I need to people please and force myself to act and be a certain way. And if you want to know if you're actually getting my true self, then you'll hear my deeper voice. You can probably hear actually when I vlog by myself or do these podcasts by myself versus vlogging with somebody else. You can probably catch it. I learned that lesson this year and I was like, oh shoot. Another thing that I learned is that your opinion matters just as much as anybody else's, to yourself and to others. That's how it really should be. If you find the right people in your life, they will hold this to be true. If you're in a group where people actually care about you, your opinion, even if it's different, they will ask for it and they will make sure it is heard, because you're in the right group with the right people. And this should be the case in the way that you treat yourself as well. If you're thinking to yourself, this is a very real case for me where somebody wants to make plans to do a certain thing. Sometimes I actually don't want to do that thing. And I'm like, I'll just do it just because they asked me and I feel bad. But how about my own opinion? If I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it. They can find somebody else to hang out with and it'll be fine and no one's going to be hurt. But for some reason, I feel like I have to compensate and, I don't know, do all these things that I don't actually want to do. But what I want to do also matters. So if you find the right people, then that should be okay. If you don't find the right people, then you're going to feel a lot of pressure saying no or doing things that might not be aligned to what they want. So be on the lookout for that. If you feel that pressure, that's a good sign that you're not in the right group. Another thing, the third thing that I learned was if someone shows you they don't want to be in your life, let them leave. I learned this really, really early on in the year. I thought that I was going to have someone more permanent in my life. And I genuinely thought I was going to come into this year with a boyfriend, which is crazy because that did not happen. By the end of January, I knew that was not happening. But there are a lot of signs that this person showed me that they weren't as invested in me as I was in them, and that they wanted to keep their options open. And that's fine. If you want to keep your options open, you can keep your options open, but I'm somebody who wants loyalty, who wants to be permanent in somebody's life. I don't think I should be an option. And so they showed me that they didn't really want to be here for a long time and they were still iffy about it. And because of that, I was like, okay, then go. And so I let them leave and they're not here in my life anymore. And I'm happy that I did that. And that should always be the case. In another case, it could be friendships. It could be family members. If they show you in their actions that, you know, they're not prioritizing you, then just let them be. Okay. The next thing that I learned is there's a such thing as having too much fun. There's a lot of moments in this year where I just booked myself with too many plans. And yes, on my calendar, it would look really exciting to a lot of people. Like, oh my God, you're doing something every day. But there's a point where it's not as exciting anymore and you're just like craving a second to breathe and be by yourself and rot. And I didn't let myself do that for a few moments in this year. I was not enjoying those moments as much as I could have been if I really spaced them out more. And part of it is what I mentioned earlier, where I would just keep saying yes to all these plans, saying yes to all these people when deep down, I knew I didn't actually want to do these things because I was so tired. The fifth thing that I learned is if you don't take care of your body will force you to take care of your body. So I overdid it. This is very hand in hand. I overdid it for a lot of things, not just fun things, but moving and all this stuff. And then I got COVID. I've talked about it already in my past podcasts, but my body was like, yeah, if you're not going to shut down and choose to take care of it, then I will shut down and force you to not do anything. And honestly, I danced up and down when I got COVID because I knew I needed the break. And I was so excited to cancel all my plans and just be inside because I was so tired. But yeah, my body forced me to do that. The next thing that I learned is I realized in the past 6 months, knock on wood, that someone is taking care of me. Someone, something out there is looking out for me because there's just things that happen in my life where I'm like 90% of the possibilities that could have happened in these moments that I like put myself in, 90% of those possibilities were not good things. And it just happened to be that the 10% won most of the time. And it's kind of crazy because I'm like, whoa, I put myself in a really bad place and somehow the best possibility that could have happened. And I was like, oh, something out there is looking out for me and I'm so grateful. I don't know what it is, I don't know who it is, but I'm grateful. The seventh thing I learned is, or eighth thing eighth thing. If something doesn't work out, it could be in your favor. I talked about this. Wow, I've talked about everything. I don't even know. I'm just like a freaking broken record, and I'm just saying the same things over and over. But if something doesn't work out for you that you really, really wanted, it could be possible that all the details that you didn't know about, the reality of it, could have been not ideal for you. And it actually could have been a worse place to be than you were before you got the opportunity. So, for example, almost getting a job that I was really excited for, because I was like, finally, I'm going to leave this company that you guys know I've been, struggling in. And it just didn't work out. I didn't get the job opportunity. But thinking back on it, the interview process had a lot of red flags. And if you already have red flags before you get into the company, then it's very likely that there are other red flags when you're in it. And having to deal with that every single day for 8 hours a day probably would not have been very fun. And I know now I for sure would not have been able to start tattooing if I had a job like that, because it sounded a little crazy. And it just happened to be that I got lucky in the company that I am in, that yes, has a lot of cons, but I can still manage doing tattooing at the same time while working at this company. So it ends up working out, but I didn't know it at the time. I just had to take a momentary break to go take advantage of the T-Mobile Tuesday and get a free pickleball set, which I didn't end up getting because they sold out. They ran out of it. Okay, I just stepped away from the camera for like an hour because I needed to go to T-Mobile to go get a pickleball set for free, and I couldn't even get it because they sold out. But if you have T-Mobile, don't forget to take advantage of it. This is not sponsored. They have this app you can get where you can get rewards every week, and usually they're pretty shitty, but this week you can get a free pickleball set. It's kind of ugly because it has a T-Mobile brand, but it's free, so I don't really care. But I couldn't even get it anyways because I was late. PSA. Anyways, what was I even on? Number 8, if something doesn't work out, it could be in your favor. I think I already said enough about that. Okay, anyways, moving on. Number 9, I think, if you don't address a certain feeling, things that you're trying to hold down, trauma, then it will show up in other ways. What does that look like? I don't even know why I'm talking like this. It shows up in emotional eating for me. It shows up in drug use for other people, shopping way too much, some extreme reaction that makes no sense to the feeling and the thing that you should have addressed. And you don't realize it once you get too deep into like a certain addiction or whatever, that if you are noticing yourself act out of character, then you might want to figure out what the actual cause of it is. Okay, next thing. I wrote some of these down while I was in the car. And if you guys have ever tried to write anything down in a car, it just looks so bad. It's like straight up scribbles. I don't even know what I was trying to say. It's like a freaking kindergartner. Try to write this. Number 10. The best kinds of friendships are the ones where they don't have attachments. They don't hold you down in any way. Basically, if you want to know if you have a really good relationship, you shouldn't owe anybody anything ever, and you shouldn't ever have to feel like you do, because the other person doesn't see it as a transaction, and you shouldn't either. You should just give willingly to these people that you love, and vice versa. And if you feel like really guilty about doing something because somebody else will be hurt, if they truly cared about you and they truly knew who you were as a person, then they wouldn't do anything. And they wouldn't see it as a problem, and they would want what's best for you, period. The next thing, number 11, is don't give yourself too much time to think too much. Because when you do, you will do exactly that, think too much. And yeah, when I was in a period where I just had too much time at work to think, too much time after work to think, I just got too in my head and I spiraled really bad. So don't even get yourself to that point. Keep yourself a good amount of busy, a healthy amount of busy. It's good to be. It's not even like a productive thing. It's just so that you can stay sane. Number 11 is be grateful for privilege, but don't let it turn into guilt. Because this is something that I've been dealing with for a long time, where I'm really grateful that I don't have to think about my basic needs. That's why I can have this entire podcast and literally talk about being able to do my passions, wanting to do my passions. But if I were in a different situation, lower income, where I couldn't even afford to eat and take care of my health, like just the basic needs, I wouldn't even get the opportunity to think about these higher level things like, what is my dream in my life? Like, what would make my life more meaningful? What do I actually want to do? Why are we all here? I get the chance to think about these things because my basic needs are already taken care of. And so I'm very, 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 very grateful and know what kind of position I'm in right now. But it kind of took a turn when I felt guilty about it too, because I would be like, well, if I have this privilege, shouldn't I be taking advantage of it and proving to the world that I am grateful for it by being really successful and doing what other people can't do? So I had this mentality where I was like, oh, I'm not doing enough. Like, I started off in a really good position, but I haven't even made it very far. And so it shows that I actually am not grateful for what I have. Don't let yourself get there. That is not how you should be looking at the world, and you shouldn't be comparing yourself that way, because there's a lot more factors that are involved in terms of how you start and like where you're going, and everything happens for a reason at a certain pace, and sometimes you have to go through it slowly so you can learn a certain lesson that you wouldn't have learned otherwise. So just be grateful but not guilty. Finally, there's just so many different types of people in this world, and I had a lot of trouble like coming to terms with that, because I would tell a lot of people in my life that were one way and not very similar to me about how I felt, and they were like, what are you doing? Like, you shouldn't be feeling this way, and like what you need to do is think these things, and once you think those things and like get through it, you'll be fine. What I realized later is that the reason why it doesn't actually work for me, and the reason why I'm still going through it when everyone else figured out how to deal with these bad feelings, is because I'm just different. And not just me, but there's a lot of people that are like that, where they're in a different kind of category. Not to box everyone and put everyone in categories, but there are just some people who, at the end of the day, if they can make the money, then that's all they care about. If they can be stable, have a job, have something to work towards, then that's all they need, and they feel very satisfied. Doesn't matter what that thing that they're working towards is. And then there's other people, this is the category that I feel like I fit much better in, where I actually need to have something that I care about to work towards. I can't just be thrown in anything and make money and be okay with it at the end of the day. I have to want it. I have to do what I want. And I just don't like doing things that I don't want to do. And call me privileged, call me stuck up, call me whatever you want to call me, but that's just reality. Like, that's how I feel, and there's nothing that I've been able to do to make me feel otherwise. And it took me a while to be like, is there something wrong with me? Because like everybody else is feeling differently, until I met a few people that were like, dude, I will die if I do something I don't want to do. Like, I cannot handle it. And it sounds dramatic when you're with a different group of people, but when I was with these people who are similar to me, I felt very validated, and I was like, actually, this doesn't sound crazy anymore. With that being said, if you find yourself in a different type of bubble, instead of trying to fight it, maybe own up to it, because that's what you're meant to do here, if that makes sense. So I realized that because I need to do what I like to do, I need to do something that impacts other people's lives and has a positive effect. I need to lean towards that, because that is my place in this world. And if I don't do that job, if I don't meet that responsibility that I feel so strongly about, then who is there in the world to do it? It is my job. I can't make anybody else be any other way, and they can't make me be any other way. When I do that, I feel more successful. I can push myself even more and do what I'm supposed to do in that area because that's where I'm meant to be. People, does that make any sense? If you're feeling the same way, don't make excuses. Instead, just take care of it. That's what I have to say. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Share this with anybody you think would enjoy it. And bye.